chords are combinations of notes, such as that. 2 or 3 chords together make a song. Here's a short sample of a video that I made with a student a few years ago. First, let's get started by tuning your ukulele. Try to match your 4th string, and remember it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your 4th string. I'm going to follow it to the tuning peg. It's this one right here. Make sure you look. Match your tuning peg to this note right here. This is a G. Next, we'll go to the 3rd string. 1, 2, 3. That string goes to this peg right here. Make sure you get the right peg. And this note is a C. See if you can match that pitch by ear. This note is a C. Make your uke same as me. And now the 2nd string, that would be 1, 2. Follow that string. It goes to this tuning peg right here. Make sure you grab the right one. E. The 2nd string is E. See if you can match the E. And finally the 1st string, that's this one right here, going closest to the floor. And let's follow that to the tuning peg right there. It's an A. Match the tuning of the A. Okay, so some people will be able to follow that and tune their uke just by listening and matching. If you are not having luck with that, please don't worry. It can take quite a while to learn how to do that. You may need help tuning your uke at first. Also, check out my other video on how to tune with an electronic tuner. So, if your uke is not in tune, you can still follow along in this video. It just might not sound as nice. It really is worth the effort to learn to tune well, because boy does it make a difference in how nice the music sounds. But again, we're just starting here. So having fun, trying is really where it's at. And if it doesn't sound great at first, don't worry. It can take a while to make things sound really good. Okay, so we're going to start with some chords. And a chord is when you combine several notes together. Usually you strum all the strings. So if I just strum and open all my open strings, if I just strum them, that is a chord. So a chord is a combination of notes ringing together. This chord happens to be C6. It also is known by a fancy name, A minor 7. So you can memorize it if you want. It might come in handy someday. But first, I want to teach you guys the C chord. So we're going to take our 3rd finger. That's 1, 2, 3. This one right here, otherwise known as our ring finger. We're going to take that finger, don't forget which finger to use, and we're going to put it on the 1, 2, 3. 3rd fret of the 1st string, the one closest to the floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 3rd finger and I'm going to put it right here. And if I want to play the 3rd fret, I put my finger right behind it so the string rings along this length. And it should sound like this if you just play that one note. So that's a C, that note. But if we want a C chord, then we simply strum all 4 strings while holding that down. Now if you get a buzzy sound like that, you're probably just having trouble getting enough pressure. Look how I am arching my finger. I'm not holding it flat like that. I have it arched so that the very tip of my finger is coming down on that string. That's a harder part of your finger. The tip is harder than the fleshy part. So the tip of your finger goes right behind that wire, and you've got to press down fairly hard, and that's how you get a nice clear sound. When you first start to play, if you're new to ukulele, your finger might get a little bit sore at first, and that's okay. If you do this for a few minutes every day, your finger will build up very quickly and it won't be sore anymore. In fact, it'll start to feel kind of good. Okay, so everyone, get your hand in position for the C chord. I'm going to count to 4, and we're going to give that C chord 4 strums. And remember, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 1st string. All this together is a C chord. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we strummed those 4 strums on the C chord, we call that a measure. 4 beats or 4 strums is a measure because we're in what we call 4/4 time. We count in 4s. So let's do it again. I'll count to 4 and then we'll strum together 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The next chord I'd like to teach you is actually going to involve this finger, your 1st finger. So what we're going to do is we're going to lift the 3rd finger off, and we're going to take the 1st finger and put it on the 1st fret, or just behind it, of course, not on it, of the 3rd string. 1, 2, 3, right there. And you're going to have to really arch your finger like this, because if you're flat, you'll block these other strings, and we want all the strings to ring, so you're going to have to really curve your finger like that so that it only touches the 3rd string. If you smush it flat, you'll accidentally touch the other strings and they won't ring. So a nice big arch, the tip of your 1st finger on the 1st fret of the 1, 2, 3 3rd string, and let's strum it. Oh, isn't that a great sound? This chord is called the A7 chord. A7, and you want to remember that. When you first learn how to play uke, you want to memorize as many chords as possible. So look, if we start with our C chord, 3rd finger, 3rd fret, 1st string, notice where my index finger is. It's all ready for that next chord. I just lift up the 3rd finger, put down the 1st finger, and we're on the A7 chord. So first let's practice the A7 chord to see if we can get a nice clear sound. I'll count to 4 and we'll give it 1 measure. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. I'll count to 4. See if you can do it in time with me. Not too soon, not too late. We'll count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go. Now, let's see if we can put them together. We're going to start on C, and then we're going to go to A7. See if you can get from C to the A7 without arriving at the A7 late. The secret is to have that finger ready. Here we go. I'll count to 4. We'll do 1 measure of C and 1 measure of A7. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's try that again. 4 C's, or 1 measure of C, and 4 A7s, 1 measure of A7. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. A, 2, 3, 4. I'll give it one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. A7, 2, 3, 4. Great. Now at this point, if this is enough challenge for you, you may want to work on just this part for about a week and review the video up to this point. If you're finding this as easy and you're following along and it's not too hard for you, well then let's do the next step. And if you need a little more time, just stop here, and after a few days and a few reviews of this video, when you're making that change easily, then you can come back and complete this video. Okay, so C to A7. Now notice these 2 fingers right here. My 2nd and 3rd finger are kind of naturally going to have a shape up in the air. So what I'm going to do for my next chord is I'm going to lift up my index finger, and these two fingers are going to drop down right here. So notice this is the 2nd fret, and I'm going to have my middle finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to have my ring finger, or my 3rd finger, 1, 2, 3. My 3rd finger goes on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string, 1, 2. It might be easier to place the ring finger first. So 2nd fret of the 2nd string, and then we reach over the top with the middle finger. And remember, you need a nice high arch. If you squish your hand flat like this, you'll dampen the strings. We want a nice high arch so we're not accidentally touching the strings next to the finger, because we want to hear all 4 strings. And it should sound like this. Ah, yes, that's a beautiful chord, and this is called a D7. Let's try D7. I'll count to 4 and we'll do a measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the next thing to do is to practice the change from A7. Remember, 1st finger, 1st fret of the 3rd string. 1, 2, 3, right there. So there's A7, and notice how these fingers almost automatically want to land on the 2nd fret of the 4th and 2nd strings. And it should sound like that. So now very slowly, see how, if you can make that change. Now you may need to practice this change for a few days before you're ready for the next step. And remember, a few minutes a day. You don't have to practice this for a long time. Just a few minutes until you've successfully made the change. And then once you've done that and if you can do it in the morning and the evening, twice a day for just a few minutes each, that's how you'll learn this the fastest. Now, once you're making that change successfully, then you can integrate it into the whole thing. So we have C for 4 strums. Then we have A7 for 4 strums, and then we have the 2-finger chord D7 for 4 strums. Actually, I take that back. We'll do the D7 for 2 strums only. You'll see why in a minute. Here we go. So I'll count to 4. We'll do 1 measure of C, 1 measure of A7, and half a measure, or 2 strums of D7. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Now, the next thing to learn is how to go from the D7 to a chord. Let me think what key we're in. To a G6. And so what I'm doing is called a lift and shift. I have my fingers on the 2nd fret of the 2nd and 4th string. Well, I'm going to lift that shape up into the air and shift over to the 1st and 3rd string. And you might even practice jumping back and forth, because that's all you're doing is shifting from 2 and 4 over to 1 and 3. It's the same shape moved over. So this is D7, and this is G6. So once you're ready to make that shift, remember, arch those fingers nice and high. Don't let them squish flat. It needs to be arched nice and high so you can hear all 4 strings. So let's start with D7. We'll strum that 4 times, and then we'll go to G6 for 4. So 1 measure of each. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it again. 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now sometimes when I'm trying to learn a chord change like this, I'll loop it. That means I'll do 4 of one, 4 of the other, 4 of the other one, 4 of the other, and I'll just go in circles. Let's try that. 1, 2, so we're going to start on the D7 and go to the G6. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, D7, 2, 3, 4, G6, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, Okay, now back to our song. The way the song goes is 4 on C, or one measure, 4 on A7, or one measure. Now we do 2 strums on D7 and 2 strums on G6. Let's try it. 1, 2, 3, 4. C, A7, D7, G6, and then you're going to love this move. I'm going to lift up my middle finger and slide my ring finger up to the 3rd fret, and that returns me home to the C chord. So all together, and we do the C chord for 4 beats. Here we go. 1, 2, start with me. C, 2, 3, 4. A7, 2, 3, 4. D7, G6, and C, 2, 3. Let's loop it. C, 2, 3, 4. A7, 2, 3, 4. D7, G6, and C. Let's keep going. C, A7, D7, G6, and C. Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. Please keep in mind that probably no one will use the whole video just in one day. This is a video where you watch part of it until you master that part, and then you move on. And that is why I put the time stamps and table of contents at the beginning. The demo song that I use is called Red Hot, and I will send you guys a link to that YouTube video if you want to watch the whole thing. But please keep in mind, these chords are good for many, many songs in different styles of music. So I hope you enjoyed this, and please leave me your feedback so I know what kind of video to make for you guys next.